I'll completely agree. The Brewmaster Tinker combo is a very scary thing here for Arrow, and it's up to Mineski now to show us that they can fight into Arrow with this. They need to control that Tinker, and what options do we have here to control Tinker? What would you go with? I mean, there are a few that come to mind. We've already seen Pugner as a attempt for it today, but they'll opt for the Jakiro. However, this does leave Earthshaker immediately for Arrow, and if they can hit that big Echo Slam, we could be looking for some very big, impactful, heavy-hitting teamfights where it just looks like a nuke has gone off on the map.
Yeah, it really can. Arrow Gaming have a lot of great tools to start the teamfights on their terms and then clean them up with the Tinker. Mineski don't have the greatest tools to catch a Tinker out on the map once he gets his Blink Dagger. They don't have a Storm or Clockwork, and I don't really see them picking up those heroes. It looks like they want to put as much pressure early on with Jakiro with the Liquid Fire, but then again, there's nobody else that really synergizes with that type of push. It's kind of a non-committal lineup coming out from Mineski. It has a lot of good things going for it, although it's not meshing as well as the lineup from Arrow.
No, it isn't, and it's the team synergy in terms of the hero picks that I'm looking for in the draft all the damn time. And you've got offlane Brew, mid lane Tinker, support Earthshaker Skywrath, the combo that we have seen so much in recent weeks. Long range initiation plus Mystic Flare. I can't really say anything other than that. And right now, I'm looking for a carry to round this out for Arrow, and we have Void Band out, Doom Band out, as well as Razor Band out. What jumps out at you for this draft?
Honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to a Tidehunter still coming out from Arrow Gaming. I think they have enough carry potential coming out from the Tinker to just go all into the team fight and have that Brewmaster be in the safe lane. Then Skywrath Mage and Earthshaker can just kind of roam to whatever lane they want to. It's a really solid roaming duo, but if they are going for the carry, it depends on what timing they're looking to hit. If they want to go very much into the late game, I could see a Morphling being pretty solid. As there's not the greatest lockdown coming out from Mineski, they have the Centaur as well as the Rubik, which is nice, and they can combo him down if they land one of those spells. But if Morphling has like one defensive item in the BKB or the Lincoln Sphere, that combo is completely messed up, and I think they could probably get away with it. I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see how they want to round out their draft, because honestly, with those 4 picks, they already work so well together, I think they could go for anything they wanted.
Fair enough, I can completely understand that. For me, I would not be adverse to that Morphling, as you mentioned. It would get the space, it would get the farm, and I don't see anything other than the Morphling being the necessary choice here. Then again, if you did go for the strength alternative, you could pick up an Alchemist, but that doesn't really gel well with the Tinker in some respects. Then again, the Earthshaker would love that negative armor, and so would the Brewmaster. It's a hard one to call. I mean, there is really no alternative that I can think of that's jumping out at me, unless we look for something unorthodox. I mean, unorthodox would be fun.
Yeah, it definitely would be. If they want to go aggressive and try to get a lot of kills in the lane, they might look for something like a carry Wraith King. Although going aggressive up against a Viper is generally not a great idea, and a carry Wraith King would be kited for days with the Centaur ultimate as well as Viper Strike. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they're actually going to settle on. I'm still kind of holding out for the Morphling, but I'd love to see something unconventional. They still kind of lack a mechanism carrier for their team, and honestly, I'm hoping for a Huskar, but that's a pretty long way hope.
There's unorthodox and then there's madness, and I think you just crossed the line into madness there, Grampus. But
it would be a solid mech carrier, and it would combo very well with the Skywrath Mage as far as the Ancient Steel, amplifying the damage. They won't go for that, and it probably is closer to madness. But Bristleback going to be the pickup for Arrow Gaming. So it's not going to be an offlane Brewmaster. It is going to be Bristleback handling the offlane position for their team. All of these lanes are fairly self-sufficient, although I expect the Skywrath Mage and Earthshaker to be roaming around a lot. I think a lot of their focus is going to be on getting DDZ an early start.
Well, getting DDZ an early start is what Arrow want. DDZ's Tinker is phenomenally scary. All they need to do is make that little bit of space for him, and he'll then be able to carry the game from the mid-game point onwards, really. And the Bristleback will at least help in terms of slowing heroes down, getting on top of targets, and just being a tanky sponge to absorb a lot of the early aggression from Mineski. And I like the pickup of Bristleback here. Not one that I thought we would see, and they're going for just the tanky alternative. It's a good one to see. But equally now for Mineski, where are they going to go? Offlane Centaur, potentially mid or safe lane Viper. We're looking for a mid or safe lane hero here for Mineski. And what would you really want, considering you're potentially going up against a Tinker in the mid lane, or a Bristle on the off?
Let's see, I'm kind of expecting the Viper to take up the mid lane and Ember Spirit to go towards the safe, but then again, that would sacrifice a lot of the Ember Spirit's mana. In lane, Tinker does very well up against the Ember Spirit. Although the Flame Guard can absorb the damage from Archer Machine's laser, is going to be pretty good up against him. I don't know. The Ember Spirit pickup, it can definitely work out for them, but it needs to get off to an early start. And Mineski, if their lanes don't pan out for them, I can see Arrow just running away with this game.
Indeed, it's going to be up to Mineski to stop the Tinker running away, as you mentioned with the game. But the Ember Spirit was called by Grand Arms 1 in chat. Well called, man. Ember Spirit for Mineski. And as we go into game number 1 of this 2-game matchup between Mineski and Arrow, where is your money going to go, Grandis?
I'm going to put my money on DDC's Tinker, but yeah, I think that's going to be where my bet is going to lie. I like their lineup a little bit more. Although the Bristleback, I think, could have been better suited to be a Tidehunter, it still can definitely work out for them. Although a little bit weaker on the Dire side as far as laning is concerned. I think they have 2 out of their 3 lanes pretty much set. As long as the rotations coming up from the Skywrath Mage and the Earthshaker is solid.
I can understand that. I'm going to put my money, however, onto Mineski. I have been impressed with Mineski over the recent week where I've been casting them heavily, and we are seeing early smoke out of Mineski. But while this is going on, let's quickly introduce the players, shall we? For Mineski, we have Jacko on the Ember Spirit. We've got Joven on the Viper. On the Jakiro, we have Jesse Vash. Over on the Center Warner, we have Oa, who's going by 5593 at the moment. And finally, rounding out the lineup, we have Play Hard, once again reprising his role as Rubik. But smoke is revealed immediately by the Skywrath Mage here. And Skywrath needs to be very careful, because Telekinesis is there. Do we have an Ice Path to follow up? Yes, we do. And he's caught out by the Searing Chains, but can he escape this one? One more right click from the Rubik, and the Jakiro will seal the first blood. Play Hard collecting that one.
Yeah, it was a really nice combo coming up from Mineski. The Skywrath Mage probably was out free, but he probably found just a really awkward pathing because he turned around going that direction right into the lift of the Rubik. So after that, it was a really straightforward kill, despite having a really nice defensive fissure coming up from Mozen. After getting up first blood, Arrow are going to be off to a slower start, but it's not going to really harm the Skywrath Mage. More than anything, it's going to be a boost of gold for the Rubik. But that said, Arrow are playing on the Dire side with their safe lane Brewmaster taken up by Lance. The supporting duo is going to be Mozen on that Earthshaker, with Skywrath Mage being played by MTR. The mid hero is going to be DDZ on his Tinker, and the offlane will be handled by Zhongzai on the Bristleback.
I am going to massively mispronounce the Zhangzai, I think. I apologize for this one. I am very, very bad with foreign pronunciations, but in the meantime, as these lanes take shape, Ember Spirit versus Tinker. Now, part of me wants to say Jacko will be able to handle this, but Tinker can control this mid lane with the laser and just forcing that miss blind chance.
And right now, he is doing just that. For the early portions of the game, especially, Tinker is going to have an absolute field day. As they go up on top onto Oa, they're going to block him off with a very nice fissure. Do they have the damage? Oh, he's just getting himself caught in a very awkward path, trying to juke through the trees. Does he have the tangos? He does. There's just not enough damage, but I think he's still going to die. It's going to be a very slow and painful death, however.
Yeah, this is basically a war of attrition. They'll use the Thunderclap, and that will be the end of Oa's life. Unfortunately, getting blocked into the tree line. He could have bought a TP and tried to TP out, I think, but they did have the Earthshaker nearby, and he did have clarity, so he could have had the mana to block that. But from where we stand right now, early aggression, I should think we're going to see a good set of aggressive rotations coming out of Arrow Gaming. I mean, the Earthshaker Skywrath Mage combo, we mentioned this so many times. It can play defensive, or it can play phenomenally aggressive, and Oa's already taking more damage. He's not going to have a fun time up in this lane.
Yeah, now that they got the early kill onto Oa, it's going to give Lance a lot better time in this lane if they do leave him. I think getting that early kill is very important for Arrow because it will allow them the luxury of putting some pressure on the other lanes. The Ember Spirit currently is getting not crushed by the Tinker, but he's definitely losing out. 7-5 compared to 5-0. We have a double damage rune spotted up by the supports, but it looks like Centaur is going to pick that one up unless we see a Fissure securing that from the Earthshaker. He will block off the Fissure, and, well, that'll secure themselves a double damage rune, probably for their Tinker.
Well, I don't see the Tinker making the rotation at this point. They're going to just have to let the Earthshaker pick it up. But now you've got Earthshaker, DD trading with Jaco. And Jaco could be in a lot of trouble here. One more Arcane Bolt could be enough to spell his doom, and will do so with the Fissure. So we lose the Ember Spirit here in exchange for a Bristleback who went down on the off lane.
Yeah, Bristleback was just caught out by the lift into Ice Path as they're looking for the Centaur. One more Arcane Bolt's not going to do the trick, but just a couple more auto attacks will. Oh, might look for a deny here at the large camp. We'll see. There is enough mana on the Skywrath Mage coming soon, but the rockets from DDZ secure that kill, and that's not the hero you want to be giving that extra gold.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. And we can already see Tinker leading last hits and denies and now picking up a kill as well. He already has an old talisman, has that bottle, and he's going to just bottle crow that up. He is just going to dominate this lane just with sheer mana control. It is one of the strengths of the Tinker in this matchup. And there is very little Jacko can do really to stop this one.
It really is. It's going to be on the backs of the Rubik and Jakiro. If they want to put any more pressure onto this Tinker, it's going to have to come from them, because the solo Ember Spirit's not going to cut it, especially if he gets killed by the smoked up supports coming out from Arrow.
Well, if these supports can get a good initiation, Jacko could go down again. He does have that Ember Guard up. It is at level 2, so it is going to absorb 200 damage magical, but is that really enough? Seems the supports think it is, and they're just going to rotate away. MTR doesn't want anything to do with this. He's actually going to stack the Ancients, possibly, if he can find the ward to remove it. He certainly wants to get rid of that, but it's stuck in that little alcove. Will be found, however, by MTR, and that's going to spell the end of that. So Ancients will start to be stacked up here in favour of Arrow Gaming, and that's going to all be there for DDZ to farm up as soon as he wants to.
Yeah, more than likely it is going to be the Tinker, although they have some pretty good heroes to abuse those Ancient stacks. Bristleback playing very aggressively up against the Chikiro. His backups in long range, they'll be able to get the Fissure, tagging onto Jesse Bash. They'll lift up Jungsai away in a nice Ice Path, going to catch all three of them. The Bristleback's the one who's actually going to die here. Is Viper picks up that last hit.
Yep, Joven just managing to get the extra damage out, and now he's even going to find MTR. This could be a double kill. It's a double kill the way of Joven, and you mentioned you don't want gold going on for the Tinker. If there's one hero that Arrow need to respect here, it is the damage potential of this Viper. And you've got to consider, this is again, the 3 points up in poison attack build we see coming out of Joven. He seems to very much enjoy this build, and from here on in, he's going to be gearing up for that early mechanism, which is going to give a good amount of early control and momentum the way of Mineski in this game.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest selling factors of this build is the pressure you're able to put on the melee heroes. And Bristleback, on the Dire offlane especially, can't do anything up against the Viper. And after dying especially, he's not looking pretty happy. Although his experience is on par with that of the Centaur.
If he can keep matching up against that Centaur, he's at least going to do okay for himself. But if you look at these lanes, Lance picking up the golden farm for Mineski versus the Viper here for, as we see Viper going in for another kill, but it's an immediate TP reaction out, as well as a Fissure onto Playhard. They're going to look to try to bring down Playhard, but look at the positioning of Joven. He's coming in the backside. He's going to be able to at least get Mosen, I should think. 2 more right clicks should spell his doom. Hell, just the 1, and the dot damage coming through from that poison attack. In the meantime, Playhard may go down to MTR here with that last Arcane Bolt, and right click will finish him off. And Joven was thinking about coming in the back and cutting him off, but not going to be able to get the kill. So again, a little bit of a scuffle.
Yeah, Scarlet Mage, one of the faster heroes in the game, and Viper not able to secure that without any slows going his way. As, well, Brewmaster up top, they're going onto him. They follow up with the Ice Path. Do they have the damage? They're trying to chase down Lance, and I think he'll be able to make it out alive.
Yeah, I don't see Lance being able to be brought down very easily, at least not with a second stun coming out or Ice Path, and the Ice Path was used there. It was on cooldown when we checked, and Lance, he's doing him okay for himself. He's got 1,500 gold. He's looking for that rushed Blink Dagger. But is that really going to be enough when you consider? Is the Primal Split going to be the big factor here, considering you've also got a Centaur which can Stampede the Viper, or onto the Stampede the Jacko on that Ember Spirit? But DDZ stalking Jacko does have good damage potential between level 2 Laser and level 1 Rockets, but most important thing here is the March of the Machines. And there is still no level 6 up for Jacko. He could go down to the March, but the Ember Guard keeping him alive just for now.
Yeah, barely ticked level 6 there, and he didn't have to level up immediately once he got it, but he was able to have good enough reactions. And now they'll leave the lane for the Rubik, and with another Remnant back in lane, he'll be able to get back to where his farm is quickly enough, but still Tinker putting a lot of pressure there. And with a regeneration rune, nothing lost for DDZ.
No, DZ can just rotate around and just keep up this level of pressure. He's got that regen, as you mentioned. He can just drop that March on the Machines, and I would not be surprised to see a slow siege on this tower from DDZ here, especially considering we already have the Primal Split available as well as the Blink Dagger nearly for Lance. So should we see a slow siege on this mid lane and someone move to try to react to DDZ's Tinker, they're going to eat a Primal Split for it.
I think what they should do very shortly, before this regeneration rune wears off at least, is get one more stack into the Ancients and then have Tinker farm that from over here. With the regeneration rune, he can spam out his March without eating into that mana, if he's going to put that 8th point into rearm, which he doesn't have just yet, But once he does have that, that stack is going to be very easy for him to clean up, and that'll secure himself the Boots of Travel if he is going to get the entire stack, and it looks like he will. His supports are not going to stack that one more time, as that would give up their smoke, or rather, no, that's the arrow supports. They're going to lift up the Tinker. Ice Path does not come out just yet. Let's see, DDZ, nowhere to run. The Ice Path is going to be on the mark. Do they have the damage with the body blocks? They need more support coming in here, and while the support is going to be in the form of the Bristleback, just a full retreat, but the Ember Spirit goes in. He's going to get the chains on somebody, or will he? Doesn't actually throw them out, and bring Remnant forward towards the Scarlet Mage. He's just burning in the fire and the flames. The chains do not come out because he's silenced, and the Tinker's still standing strong, spamming out those rockets on the high ground as they're looking for any kills. Nobody's died just yet, and I think that's going to be the case. Ice Path tags the Earthshaker, but Viper not there for the slow.
And while all that's going on, DDZ is just continuing to farm up with the Smudge of the Machines, but in comes Joven. If he can bring down DDZ here, that's going to be pretty damn huge, and he will get the kill. Doesn't go the way of the neutrals, and now Joven will try to farm up these remaining creeps. This is a big impact here towards DDZ's economy, but we do get the rotations coming in from the rest of Arrow to protect this Ancient stack. Tinker needs these Ancients at this point, and this will secure him his travels. If he doesn't get these, he's going to have to go back to lane at least for a minute.
Yeah, it's not going to scare him his travels, and one of the big creeps is stolen by the Viper, and he lost a decent amount of gold as they go up on top with the first usage of Split.
Yep, we've got Oa just being chased down by the Brewmaster. The Centaur is fairly tanky though, and in comes the Jakiro with that Ice Path, going to delay these Panda Split Brewlings from killing Oa just for at least a second or two. But now we got this potential turnaround. Oa needs to be careful though. He cannot get right click right now because that'll be a guaranteed crit coming out of Lance. And from where we are, I should think this could be a kill on us. He may have got slightly over-aggressive and almost goes down to the crit, actually. Got to be very careful of that. But now you've got Mosen. He's getting caught out by Jacko. And a couple of right-clicks coming through from this DD Ember Spirit could spell his death. And the Stampede does come through to ensure this one. And that's 2 kills going the way of Mineski.
Yeah, really good play coming out from the Jakiro and the Rubik. The Ice Path was cancel cast twice before he got it, but when your third time's on the mark, even though it's a little bit harder to land, there was nowhere for the Ember Spirit to run in such a small choke point, so it was really well played. There was nowhere that rather, not the Ember Spirit, but the Brewmaster. Yeah, so really well played by the sports. And Tinker's going to be able to farm up those Ancients, and he does get the Boots of Travel. He's not going to have his Soul Ring for another 500 gold or so, a little bit less than that. And that's where he really is going to come online, but already the global presence coming up from Tinker at 10 minutes in. His farm's delayed a lot by that last death, but it's not going to be awful for the Tinker. He's gotten over the hump of his early laning stage.
Indeed, and now we're just looking for DDZ to show us what he can do with that Tinker, to show us the impact he can have on this map, but it's going to be rough in my mind, considering if we consider what Oa and the rest of Mineski have so far. No Blink Dagger yet up for Oa. That's the key item he's going to be looking for to deal with this Tinker. But bot lane, we do have another fight breaking out. Joven gets dived, but Stolen Fisher going to block this up for a few seconds later. Ice Path comes out, stops Zhang Zai, but in comes Tinker. DDZ is here, rockets to fly through. But Joven gets 1. Is he going to get 2? Seems he might get the double. Will get the double. And in the back lines, you've got Jacko tearing apart MTR. MTR falls, and DDZ is forced back. That's a 3-0 trade in favour of Mineski.
Yeah, really sick play coming up from Playhard with his Fissure. They had one Fissure going this way and one going that way, and the X split up the fight in just the perfect way for Mineski. There wasn't enough backup coming out from the Tinker. He wasn't able to bridge that gap. He dropped a March, and that stopped the rest of Mineski from jumping in. But with the Magic Shield coming out from the Ember Spirit, he didn't actually care, and he was able to dive and pick up that third kill for them. 11-4 the kill score, and Mineski, they're making these lanes work out for them. Even though they gave Tinker a pretty solid timing on his Boots of Travel, their Viper's getting big, and their Ember Spirit's not slacking either.
No, their Ember Spirit is not slacking, and he's had a remarkably better game than the Ember Spirit from the previous game that we cast. And if we look at him, he's already well on his way towards a drum, if not having the full drum as we get Lance. Potentially going to go for the initiation here onto Jacko, but no, not a chance on this one. The Fisher comes out from Playhard to protect him. And is that a full drum? No, that's a full magic wand up for Jacko. He's going to be looking for the drum next, and then he's going to be going into cleave. And he's got his own stacks to farm up as well, so this is going to help him out.
Yeah, this is very important for the Ember Spirit because he is behind the Tinker, mostly due to the CS. He's at less than half of what the Tinker has, but his impact has still been felt. He's at the point where Ember Spirit, although he doesn't do the most physical damage, that maxed out Flame Guard as well as 3 points into the chains is really hurting, and he'll have to use his ultimate in order to get close, but if he does do that, it's very easy for him to get these kills.
Indeed, and as long as he's got charges on that Flame Remnant, he can just play as aggressive as he likes. But DZ in the meantime is going to continue jumping around the map, farming up as best he can, keeping these lanes pushed out, but could potentially be caught out here by Mineski. You've got Jesse Vash lurking nearby as well as Oa, but we have to point out there is backup equally for Arrow Gaming nearby in the
Oh,
form
they can't
of
do
Lance.
this.
And where we got this? What's going on?
Centaur just ran into double march of the Tinker and died to a laser. You can't run into double march. That just does too much damage. Even with the ultimate isn't, they go on mid onto Jacko.
Yeah, in the mid lane, you've just got the Tinker just coming in and Jacko forced back. I didn't expect them to go on that. I just like, where's the Stampede for? It's got to be for something else on the map. I was looking around the map thinking, what did they engage on? But
they tried to go for the Tinker, but he died just as quickly. He ran so fast through the march that it shredded him in less than a second.
Yeah, double march was down. That's why I didn't think they would go on that with that Stampede. That's why I was looking around the map. It just did not make any sense to me. An easy kill going the way of DDZ, and well, Mineski do need to be very careful of that. They've made themselves have a solid early game. They can't be throwing it away by giving Tinker free kills like that.
Yeah, he's well on his way to a very fast Blink Dagger. Well on your standard build path, probably going to have that Blink Dagger at, actually, after cleaning up this double stack, 14.5 minutes is not out of the question, but at the very latest 15.
I would completely agree. Having that early Blink Dagger on DDZ as well just sets up for the potential for either the Dagon build or, well, we could see a page out of Jacko's book and just go for something a little bit more safe and reserved.
I think this game is a pretty solid one for Dagon after you get your Blink, because they won't have a great way to catch you when you are blinking inside the trees. They can guess with the Centaur, but they don't have a good way to get vision of you. It's going to be problematic for them catching him out. As long as he's farming safely, I think he can afford to go for the more aggressive build.
I'd be inclined to agree, and we can just see on the graphs how much aggression has paid off so far in this game. Aggression from the side of Mineski, that is, and they're near a 2k gold lead and a 3,000 experience lead. Sure, starting to come down in favour of Arrow, but that's off the back of that Centaur dying more than anything, and they're going to start sieging this tier 1. This tier 1's going to go down no contest, not even an attempt to deny it. Zhang Zai is just going to fall back, doesn't want to risk falling, but while this is going on, we do have 4 members of Arrow up lurking near that top tier 1, ready to start cracking on it, and it hasn't taken much damage yet, but certainly with a Brewmaster, with MTR on his Skywrath Mage and Mosin ready to initiate, they could look for a fight on this top lane, but then again, DDZ poking his head in that mid lane, just reminding Jacko that he's nearby, and where are we going to see the fight break out? It's going to be mid lane as you get Jesse Vash and the Stampede being used, just looking for the Tinker, but they don't find him. It was a guess, and they just couldn't make it pay off.
Yeah, they don't have a good way to catch up the Tinker with Blink, and that's going to keep DDZ safe. He's going to be just fine. Up top, Arrow don't have the greatest way to put chip damage onto these towers, unlike the Jakiro and Viper. Oh, they catch out DDZ mid with the Ice Path, now the follow-up lift. Ember Spirit's there as well, he's going to die. Didn't shift Q his Blink or something. Just a very well-timed Ice Path coming out from Jesse Vash there.
Indeed, and well, one thing I will point out right now, Viper is on a wicked 6 spree. He is 7-0-2. He has a mech, he has a hood, for Christ's sake. He is a very firm Viper. Now he's TPing top. They could look for a fight up here. He does have 3 points up in, well, he has 3 points up in all of his skills, near enough. It's an odd build. I don't think I've seen this build quite before, but it's paying off so far. And now the smoke from Arrow will be revealed. Jesse Vash walks right into it. The Ice Path's going to drop, but the Promise Split gets off in time, and Jesse Vash will take a fall off the back of this one.
Yeah, a pretty straightforward kill for them. As good as this Tinker is doing, Viper's doing better. As you said, he hasn't died, and he's been involved in so many kills. It's going to be problematic for Arrow to break high ground now. With a pipe on their Viper, it's now completed at 16.5 minutes in. The March of Machines is going to do a lot less damage. They have great ways to negate this. I was going to expect the Centaur to build the pipe, but if the Viper can get it at this time, Tinker's going to have a hard time, and now they jump onto bottom, they're collapsing onto the Bristleback.
If they can bring the Bristleback down, that's going to be huge. The Stomp comes through, the double edge as well. Bristleback takes a fall, and the offlaner from Arrow, he's currently 0-4-0. Zhang Zai not having the best game so far, and if Mineski can keep forcing the issue on this one, then I should think Mineski could go for a very early attempt at tier 2s here.
Yeah, they definitely could. This Bristleback, as an offlaner, he needs just a little bit more than other offlaners do. Especially when you compare him to somebody like the Centaur. If Centaur has a Blink, he can have a great game impact, and even without the Blink, he still has Stampede into Hoof Stomp in the double edge. Bristleback needs items to be tanky, and he just doesn't have them.
I'd completely agree. He needs those items to tank up so he can sustain himself in these fights. And the Bristleback is one of those heroes that the longer he is in a fight, the exponential damage increase from his spines pick up. And we've got to take a look at this. 17 minutes in, we've got a net worth of 10,000 on the Viper. That's 2,500 more than the Tinker of DDZ in this case.
Which is something you'll hardly ever see, just because Tinker farms much faster than Viper, but with the amount of kills he's been able to get and without dying, that's really where Viper is coming up ahead. And in fact is CSing better than the Tinker, surprisingly enough, just in the lane pushes.
Yeah, I know, it's surprising. I did not expect Joven's Viper to be able to outdo DDZ's Tinker in the early parts of this game, but from where we stand, that certainly seems to be the case. And Joven is just being an absolute baller in terms of his aggression. He's getting up front, he doesn't mind farming the front lines, and that's considering he has that mech, he has that pipe, as well as 3 points up in corrosive skin. He's going to be nigh impossible to bring down. And from where we sit, it's quite the strong early game for Mineski. I can't say, as much as I liked my bet on Mineski, I can't say I expected them to dominate the early game this much.
Yeah. I think one of the other big issues for Arrow is their Earthshaker is absolutely dirt poor, and speaking of him, he's going to get lifted up by the Rubik. There's no follow-up, and there's also a Brewmaster waiting, so they won't actually go on that. But yeah, this Earthshaker does not even have his Arcane Boots, and he's just probably going to save up for his Blink Dagger, but he's not going to have it for quite a long time into this game, as he's been forced to play pretty defensively. 0, 2, and 4, it's not bad by any means for a support Earthshaker. You kind of expect him to die, and he's been involved in several kills, but he's just there kind of to save the Tinker and Brewmaster, and that's not really where you want him to be if you're hoping for a Blink Dagger at this timing.
I'd completely agree. Generally, I would expect more kills on the side of the Earthshaker, since you have that long-range setup, that long-range initiation. But so far, the slow siege coming out from Mineski of all teams here, and again, did not see this coming, considering they have the Tinker. And the March of the Machines is holding them back only so much at this point, considering they have that pipe complete. But we do have the Staff of Wizardry, we do have the potential here for that Dagon, and DDC is just going to continue the siege on this bottom lane. And with the Dagon 1 coming online in the near future here for Arrow, Mineski need to start respecting that and start being a little bit more careful in terms of their aggression, in my mind.
Honestly, I'm not sure they do, with the exception of the Rubik and Jakiro, and mostly just the Rubik. They are pretty tanky up against the magical damage with the pipe, and eventually once Rubik gets some points into the null field, that Dagon, it's going to sting, but it's really not going to be until he gets the next item on top of that, if it's the Ethereal Blade, before it actually starts hurting. It's really just this Viper that's sitting on the front lines with 60% magical damage resist, and then with the null field on top of that, it'll be even more. He's barely tickled by the March, and then sitting inside the March is going to be more problematic for the Tinker because of corrosive skin.
But you mentioned Nullfield, and I would normally agree with you. We have 0 points up in Nullfield from Play Hard, which is a curious choice, considering you're against a Tinker, you're against an Earthshaker, and there's the Brewmaster as well, which will reduce the damage of the Thunderclap.
Yeah, I would have liked to see him prioritize it more than the lift. I think 2 points in lift is enough, and maybe even just take 2 points away from that Fade Bolt, because at this point, the 15% extra magic resist for his team could be really sick. I don't know, Pipe Pop, they're going to quit to this Tier 2 tower. Their creeps are not going to die that quickly to the Fissure Spam as well as the March. And they should be able to get this. With Liquid Fire as well as the Nether Toxin working on this tower, I'm not sure there's going to be a wholehearted defense coming out from Arrow.
Yeah, well, with the tower falling, I would be inclined to agree. There can't be much of a defense. Sure, they're going to try to initiate onto Joven, and they will stun him out, and he could fall here, but in comes the Stampede, in comes the follow-up. They go for the Primal Split, they manage to get it off in time, but the Ion Cannon from the Mystic Flare, even from the Skywrath Mage, unfortunately does not connect, but they do catch the Rubik on the back foot of this when he's thrown up into the air, and he's going to fall here. Playhard has no recourse, no escape, and down goes the Rubik. So, as a tier 1 for one hero, but re-engage from Oa, looking to fight their way back into this one. Ice Path's not going to connect, unfortunately, and Jacko just starting to chop Zhang to pieces, and it's going to get at least the counter kill. So it's a support now for an offlaner, so slight advantage again for Mineski, and now they're going to go into Lance, who doesn't have his Primal Split anymore, gets stomped out, breaking the TP, and he will take a fall as well, so 1 for 2 and a tower in favour of Mineski.
Yeah, it's really scary. They found, like, the perfect opportunity to jump back in. Once Arrow had grouped up and committed to that Rubik, they were kind of out of position. Then you have a double damage Ember Spirit shredding into your Bristleback. It's not very pretty. Ember Spirit, I'm not a huge fan of his build this game. He's going to pick himself up an Ultimate Orb. I'm going to presume that that's going to be Manta Style to get out of the silence of the Skywrath Mage, but Linken's could also be a possibility.
For the Ember, I would actually go for the Manta in this case. The Manta would help him increase that physical damage. The Lincolns would only do so much. And sure, Lincoln's is good up against the Silence, but you've then got to consider what can actually pop a Lincoln's on the side of Arrow. Fisher can pop a Lincoln's. The Drunken Haze can pop it. The Nasal Goo can pop it. There is too many things that can pop a Lincoln's.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is the Nasal Goo. The other spells are ones you want to block, but yeah, I forgot we had a Bristleback in this game, and that's kind of a slight to Zhang Zai. He hasn't had the greatest impact. He's offered the mechanism, but that's about it. If you want just a straight-up mechanism carry, you can go for something else, and now he's going to be tagged by the Viper Strike, and they're going to right-click him down. They silence up the Ember Spirit. He's just not taking any damage with the pipe on the Viper. The Scarlet Mage ultimate did nothing, and now Zhang Zai is going to be the only one to fall in a godlike spree for our Viper this game.
Indeed, Joven is just going absolutely nuts, but I have never seen a Mystic Flare do absolutely zero damage like that before to a target that was even hit by the Ancient Seal. I mean,
Well,
it's a stark contrast to what we saw the other day with a hero with 4,000 health dying in 1.5 seconds to a Skywrath Mage. This time the Skywrath Mage can't even tickle for a single point of damage an Ember Spirit.
Yeah, it's the 500 magic block from Flame Guard as well as the 400 from the pipe. That's 900 damage that's completely negated, and a lot of the damage from Arrow is magic. So Ember Spirit, despite not being a very tanky hero usually, he's going to be able to stand very well up against Arrow, as we just saw.
Indeed, and Arrow are on the back foot in this game. We can see on terms of the graph, they're at 7.5k gold disadvantage and 7.5k experience disadvantage. And honestly, I just did not expect DTZ's Tinker to get shut down to the level that it is. And sure, we say he's been shut down to an extent. He's had a few deaths to his name. He's 2-2-2. He's got 186 CS.
Bottom.
But
Ooh. False alarm, or is it? They stun up Lance inside the trees, but don't get the vision.
no, Lance should be safe. I don't think they have another way of destroying these towers unless they telekinese a creep.
There you go.
There we go. Looking to bring that down. They did have another Fire Remnant, and down goes Lance off the back of that one. No, he gets the Primal Split off, but surely he can't get anything off the back of this Primal Split. Seems a bit of a waste of the ultimate in my mind. Then again, it is wasting the time of Mineski equally. But they're chasing the Earth Panda. They know the Earth Panda is going to fall in a few seconds' time. And is there any way to escape this one? Nope. Play hard says Fade Bolt time, and down goes the Brewmaster.
And also, while that's all happening, they're able to get a tower in mid, I believe, is the one that just fell. And, I don't know, it's space created by the Brewmaster in a sense, but it's not enough.
No, it's not enough. And even with the Tinker split pushing that top lane, you just see this bottom lane push coming in from Mineski. They're going to take this tier 2. It is a matter of time. It is just a flat-out inevitability. Sure, March of the Machines is here. I'm expecting the pipe to be popped, and that's just going to stop that. Then again, they use the Ice Path. They catch DDZ in the trees. He's going to use his Ghost Scepter to buy some time, but it does not matter. In the meantime, back foot of this fight, Stampede comes through. They're looking for more damage, and the Mystic Flare did get dropped on the Rubik. Rubik will fall, but a Tinker for a Rubik. I think I favour Mineski at this point in time. And
Just a little bit.
just a little bit.
I don't know, Joven's item choice, as far as this next one, he could go for a lot of things. Honestly, I'd like to see an MKB coming out from him, with the mischance from Brewmaster and what have you, and the damage would be amazing. But they're going to go high ground. There's very little stopping them without the Tinker's marches, and now Lance caught up by the Ice Path.
Yep, and Mineski will start to get initiated on by Zhang Zai onto Joven, but it does not matter at this point. Joven is so just damn tanky, and we do have a resolution on what the item will be for Jacko. It will actually be a Skadi. Was also called by the chat. Congratulations, chat. You know more than us casters, and that's to be expected. But the racks are still falling.
Is a wonderful item for getting that AoE still onto people, as well as just making Jacko incredibly tanky. It's not going to be the most damage you've ever seen from an Ember Spirit, but it just doesn't matter. There's no way that they can get them out of their base.
Yep, and even with the Tinker TPing in right now, he just can't TP, he cannot commit like that. It's going to be the first racks falling. Now they're working on the range racks, and now we see the potential fallback from Mineski. They're going to drop the Viper Strike one more time, keeping Zhang Zai back. They're going to drop the long-range Fisher, though. That will catch, but in comes the Centaur, looking to start this fight off against Stampede as well. Down goes the Earthshaker. In the meantime, Joven just tearing people to pieces. Down goes the Skywrath Mage. He's going to turn around for Zhang Zai, but Zhang Zai will safely TP away, and that's a beyond godlike double kill the way of Joven. Not only that, it is a first complete full lane of racks.
Yeah. Viper delivered himself the Reaver in that fight, and all of the things that Arrow threw at him just kind of tickled. We have a Brewmaster that's going to be stunned up by the Fisher, but they don't commit to that. Yeah, so I think that's going to be it, or is it? Joven, he gets the Viper Strike. He will jump up to the high ground. Yeah.
But from where we stand, such a dominating performance here from Mineski. Let's take a look at the graph off this. 12,000 gold in favour of Mineski. 10,000 experience as well. This is the epitome of a reversal of what we thought would happen. This is the exact opposite of the predictions, near enough. We both thought that the Tinker from DDZ would have some kind of impact, some kind of big impact in this game, but just not getting anything this game. But Arrow do now have the Primal Split ready once again with an Aghanims from Lance, so we could look for a fight off the back of that.
Yeah. It's just going to be a standoff from Mineski. They're in no rush at all. There's only up that they can go with this Ember Spirit. He has the Scotty, he has plenty of defensive items. He's just going to start hitting harder, and that'll make up for the fact that Viper's not going to scale incredibly well. But even if he doesn't, they're going to be able to drop heroes low enough if they catch them out. And just on the high ground, there's nothing they can do about this Viper. He's tanking the tower like a boss, and
yeah, they just cannot dislodge this Viper. No matter what they throw at it, this Viper just does not die. He has a heart, a pipe, a mech, and an Aghanims. How do you bring that down? It's only 2,600 health, sure, but the magic resistance, as you pointed out, is 64%. He takes no damage, and just look at him. He's swimming in March and not even feeling it.
yeah, and his armor isn't too shabby either. The physical damage does literally nothing. His effective HP through the roof. His lance, he jumps in mid. Now the hoof stomp. Scarlet Mage ulti barely tickles the team coming up from Mineski. Is the first one to falls the Brewmaster. They silence up the Viper. He's just right-clicking away onto Mosin. Mosin force-staffed away, trying to escape. It's not going to happen, as that's another kill going the way of Joven. TP away from Zhongsai in his own base, completely zoned out, and this should be our second lane.
Completely, and just the ability to lock down that Brewmaster before he Primal Split there was the entire reason that Arrow lost that fight. They couldn't make use of the Aghanims that he had picked up. He just got obliterated. And sure, you now have an Blade on DDZ. What is that Blade going to do? Tickle. You're fighting a team that has no field, has a pipe, has high magic resistance across the board. In comes the Blade combo for an attempt on playhard, but it does not land, and DDZ will go down. No damage done with that Blade, and equally in comes the Fisher once more. The Earthshaker will be able to clean up the Rubik, but in the meantime, in comes the Primal Split. They're going to look to try to bring down Joven, but that's not going to be the easiest fight. Echo Slam is commit as well, but Ember Spirit thrown into the air, and now comes the double edge. The combo is there, down falls the Earthshaker, and Zhang Zai going to be chasing down Joven. Joven's still alive in this mess, and now the Primal Split ends. In comes Oa, hits that double edge, as well as the Stomp, and in comes the turnaround. One falls. It's going to be two. This is going to be 15-0 onto Joven, near enough. 14-0. He didn't get that last kill, and GG is called. Jacko on a dominating spree, and Mineski take game number 1 of this best of 2 series.
And they look so good doing that. Do you know what the Ethereal Blade ended up doing for the Tinker? It amplified the damage onto him. They just hoof stomped, double edged him, and he fell. It did nothing like against the enemy team. Really good game coming out from Mineski. I was favoring Arrow's draft, but if you're able to execute like that, especially Joven, and huge props to Playhard and Jesse Vash on their supporting duo. A 2-1 and 14 Jakiro is exactly what you want to be seeing. Wonderful performance. I'm excited to watch game 2.
You and me both. Game number 2 should be one hell of a show, and I'm wondering if Arrow can show us something special to take game number 2. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we shall be back in a few moments with game number 2 between Mineski and Arrow Gaming.